If you want to get better at anything, whether it's playing the piano, improving your yoga practice, or moving ahead in your career, the secret is something called deliberate practice. This isn't just going through the motions. It's a very specific method that separates ordinary performance from truly outstanding achievement. Let's talk about how it works and how you can start applying it in your own life. First of all, you need patience. Research shows it usually takes about 10 years, yes, 10 years, before most people reach virtuoso levels in their craft. And that's the minimum, not the average. So if you're hoping for overnight success, think again. The real magic comes from sticking with it over the long haul. Now, patience alone won't cut it. Consistency matters just as much. Think about kids who forget half of what they've learned over summer break. If you take long breaks from your practice, you're going to lose ground. Showing up regularly is what keeps your progress moving forward. And here's the other truth. This learning curve is tricky. When you first start something new, results come quickly. It feels exciting. But eventually you hit that plateau where things slow down. That's the point where most people give up. But if you lean in and become more strategic, that's where growth really starts to happen. One way to push through that plateau is to focus on specific areas. Maybe you've built a great French vocabulary, but your pronunciation needs work. Deliberate practice means targeting those weak spots instead of just coasting on what you are already good at. Of course, this also means repetition, a lot of it. The best performers in the world are willing to do the boring drills over and over again. It's not always fun, but repetition is what makes your brain and body lock in those skills. Now, don't you think you need to grind all day? In fact, research shows that 3 to 5 hours of deep practice is the maximum amount people can handle in a day. And even then, those hours should be broken into shorter seasons, around 90 minutes each, so you can maintain focus without burning out. And as you're practicing, make sure you're setting clear goals. Some of those goals should be about outcomes, but others should be about the process itself. The point is to show up every time with the mindset of improving, not just going through the motions. Another thing that helps is expanding your mental model. In other words, take time to understand all the moving parts of whatever you're working on. Keep notes, keep a journal, experiment with different approaches. The more you understand the factors that help or hinder you, the faster you'll improve. But here's the catch. You can't always see your blind spots. That's why feedback is essential. Find a mentor, a coach, or even a friend who's more experienced and let them point out things you might be missing. And don't forget to pause and evaluate your progress. Ask yourself regularly what's working and what needs to change. That kind of self check keeps you from drifting off course. Now, let's look at some real life ways to apply deliberate practice. Take your exercise routine, for example. Professional athletes use these methods every day, but you can apply the same principles to something like yoga. Pay attention to your form. Focus on where you're struggling and keep refining it. Or maybe you want to get creative. Music and art are perfect areas for deliberate practice. Maybe it's time to pick up those piano lessons you dropped as a kid, but the time with intention and structure will help. Deliberate practice also pays off big in your career. Every job can be broken down into smaller tasks that can be improved. Want to sharpen your financial management skills? Or maybe refine your approach to sales calls? Break it down, practice deliberately, and watch yourself improve. And don't overlook your relationships. Yes, even relationships can benefit from practice. Imagine being more intentional about how you give constructive feedback or how you communicate with your family and coworkers. These are skills. And like any skill, they improve with focus and repetition. At the end of the day, deliberate practice is demanding. It takes time, energy, and a willingness to do the hard, often repetitive work. But here's the good. You don't need to be born with special talent to benefit from it. Anyone can use deliberate practice to grow. All it takes is practice, persistence, and the courage to keep showing up. Over time, these small, deliberate steps add up to remarkable achievements. So go out there, aim higher, and elevate your life.